everyone, and welcome back to another week in the DCU Experience. This is going to be a really interesting one because we're talking about some stuff we dedicated the entire previous episode to, which was the whole Green Arrow announcement, quote unquote, by one of the actors that is going to be in the Green Lanterns television show. So we're going to be basically backtracking everything we said, our reactions to it. Also, Sergeant Rock canceled / uncanceled in the same day. But what makes it super special is today it's just me and True. No Nick, no Crisis. True, how you doing? How you feeling about the split screen today? It's just me and you.
You know, it's a much more intimate episode, you know.
True.
Yeah, I might get a little bit closer to the mic, but no. It's hot over here. I was about to go to sleep. I was like, you know what? I can't let Garrick down. You know, he needs me.
Exactly.
I saw the symbol in the sky. I was like, yeah.
The true symbol.
Put my stuff on and let's go. Very interesting news. It is funny. The initial, when I saw Sergeant Rock was cancelled, I had some choice words to say, and then right afterwards, it was like, oh, it's uncancelled and there's more context, which, you know, ends up being the situation with most things. There's always a little bit of extra context, but yeah, interested in getting down into that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start off with the Green Arrow incident, as it were. So last week we dedicated an entire episode to this Instagram post from one of the actors that is in the Lanterns TV series. He was cast as somebody not named Oliver Queen, and we were speculating that the character's name could be a sort of red herring or something that was used in pre-production to shield the identity of the character from the actor themselves. Meanwhile, the whole time it's just trolling us. I don't know where he got the mask from. Maybe it's our first look at the Green Lantern mask. Crisis was talking about like there's like an arrow motif in the mask itself, and we were all bought into it. There was like what is it called? Like production art for the specific shot that was posted online, tagging an artist that actually does this kind of art for Marvel, DC, and other movie production studios like Warner Brothers, Paramount, Discovery, things like that. So it all seemed completely legit, and we talked about how excited we were, and then after the podcast we were on a call for like another 2 hours talking about it. That's how like interested we were in the entire situation. We're thinking that, okay, is Green Arrow going to be like an old man, basically, like Hal Jordan is going to be? How's that going to affect the rest of the Justice League? What are their ages going to be? Yada, yada, yada. We got into this whole deep discussion about it, and then it turns out it wasn't real. Like, James Gunn asked, like, hey, James Gunn was asked, I think it was on Instagram or Threads or something. He was asked about it, and he just said, like, no, LOL, not real. So I was a little bit like pissed off. I don't know. There were some people that were like, obviously this wasn't real, but I feel like it seemed. I just went through the whole like story, the whole scenario, the art, the peek behind the scenes, the facial hair. He had the goatee and everything. Like it seemed like it was real.
It was an extremely elaborate prank where to go through everything, to even have those little like arrow motifs that we could see. Now maybe we were just seeing Jesus in the clouds, right? Maybe there was nothing there and we just wanted to see it, but it was definitely a lot of effort to fake that, then fake the art, and then have a fake name as well that had people, you know, maybe it links to something to do with the arrow, and then we are now the ones making the theory that this is a fake name to hide him, and then we then go off onto this entire tangent about the ages of all the characters, which I still think is relevant, unless Hal and Oliver are just not friends in this continuity. Maybe Oliver just doesn't show up at all in this continuity, right? But I still think that would be a relevant topic. It is, it's annoying because we've had a couple of leaks from the DCU already, right? Superman. We've had the Supergirl leaks. I'm not sure. Yeah, we did talk about that a couple of weeks back. One of those turned out to be AI.
Yeah.
But we had a couple of other little things. So I was like, okay, maybe something like this has been leaked. And because we know that it seems like the Lantern show has already started recording and things like that, so it makes sense that something would show up from there.
Yeah, we're in the age of like misinformation for sure, and it's harder and harder for us to keep track of it. And maybe we're just maybe we're just old and like we can't tell, but like some of this stuff is really super elaborate, and not just talking about like, okay, we made a fake Instagram post that was just like a joke or whatever, which kind of sucks, just to like get people's hopes up or whatever, that like Oliver Queen is going to be in this. And obviously the history between Oliver and Hal is there. We talked about it at length in the previous episode, but like talking about like the Lobo stuff where it was like, okay, suit was revealed and it looked kind of bad, and like maybe you could say, all right, it was AI, but like they put like, it was so blurry. And they put it through like its paces through the AI to get it like as good as it could possibly look. I think if that was what Lobo looked like, I think people would be like upset because it didn't look that great. But also, like, it's just going to get harder and harder to tell what's going on, especially as the years continue on. And I feel like we're both pretty tech savvy. We're online enough. You can usually tell AI from not AI these days. But here in a year or two, it's going to be completely indistinguishable from reality, which is an entirely different conversation we can get into. But it's tough out here. It's absolutely rough. I wonder how much trouble he got in, but go ahead.
And I was going to say, especially with it being like, if you're trying to do a high quality leak, people can kind of tell. They'll be like, oh, this looks a little bit off. This doesn't match the coloring of everything else or whatever. But if you do a blurry leak where people expect it to look bad, and then I can't really see the details, so now I'm just assuming what's there. So like that's very easy to get away with, and that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't understand what people get from this. I'm not sure what you get from I guess to make people, I don't know. I guess it's the internet. People want to troll. But the Arrow guy, what did you get from that? What did you get from doing that?
Yeah,
because it's not like you might have got a couple of followers where they're like, oh man, this guy's playing Arrow. You know, let's see what he's doing. Green Arrow.
Green Arrow, right? Get it right.
CW field. This guy's gonna be Green Arrow, and then now you're not. Now no one's ever going to believe you again.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, I agree. And it's what makes it even more interesting is the guy is like, he's in the show, which, you know, lends even more credibility to the entire thing. So it's like, does he get on set and like, or he gets a phone call from like James Gunn, like, what are you doing? I mean, it was a story, right? It wasn't a post, so obviously he couldn't take it down because it stories are timed on Instagram. They don't stay up forever, but it just had. I'm super curious what that conversation was like. Like, it just seems so dumb to do that. Like, why would you do that?
It's a weird sabotage of yourself.
Yeah.
Now, maybe hold on. Let me cook for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe this is like the double play, where they reveal it to see what people's reactions are like.
Oh shit!
And and now they say it's fake, and now they change the show based on people's reactions, and it's going to be Green Arrow anyway. I feel like that's where they're going. It's not, but
I hope not. I mean, I don't want to get in a situation where it's like, all right, they're lying to us. Then it would be super tragic to have like James Gunn say no, not real, and then it is real, and now it's like, okay, now we can't really trust anything that he says online, right?
Yeah, and that was one of the cool things about having Gunn be kind of this definitive leader, where with the MCU it was Feige, but then X or Y would announce something, but with Gunn we just go straight to Gunn. Is this real? And he'd be like, no, this isn't real. This person is not getting casted. That was nice. I'm not gonna lie, it was nice to have him just be able to shut down random rumors because they happen all the time. And having that one figurehead, but like if he ends up being like, this is not necessarily true, but then again, why would they could just ignore it. They've ignored the Supergirl leaks, right? They took down the footage, but they didn't say anything about it. They weren't like, stop posting Supergirl or whatever. The leaks, I assume they know will happen regardless of whatever they try to do.
Well, there were specific Supergirl leaks that got like copyright claimed, and those were the ones with Supergirl on the tank. Lobo was there as well, so obviously those are real. Otherwise, why would they copyright claim them? They didn't do that to like the AI image or anything like that. So if that kind of stuff happens, then okay, it's real. But I don't think at this point it's like, sorry, my wire is driving me crazy. I'm moving it. I don't think at this point it's like safe for us to talk about anything that may have been potentially leaked. Now, I think the Green Arrow situation is a little bit different. Let's talk about like Supergirl and the Lobo situation. I think for that kind of stuff, maybe, we just don't talk about it because it could just be fake and we could get egg on our faces again. But this Green Arrow one, like we've already mentioned, it was so elaborate and seemed so real that I think we would be stupid to not think it was real. Like it was just set up in a way where we were just going to get screwed over regardless. But yeah, so Green Arrow is not in it, but let's talk about the implications of a potential Green Arrow within the series. You were talking about, okay, the age of Hal Jordan. Could it be an issue? And we were discussing this at length, like I said, a post-podcast last week. I think the most important thing that we need to touch on here is the individual ages of the Justice League members that we expect to see. We expect to see Batman. I think we're going to see a little bit of an older Batman. How old? We're not exactly sure. I think a safe spot for a Batman at this time, assuming he has a Nightwing running out there, he's got a Red Hood, a Tim Drake potentially, and we obviously know that he's going to have his son. Like good age, I think, for that would be around 40. You could stretch it and say like 35. Okay, maybe you say he started being active as Batman around, I don't know, 22 at the earliest. Let's say he gets a Robin about a year or two into it. Robin's about 10. You go 8 years. Now you're getting to 30, right? And then you get a couple more years, you're at like mid-30s, 35, 36. So I think anywhere between 35 and 40 would be like a good young Batman. That way you can have an actor that maybe is 40 right now, but can reasonably look like he's in his mid-30s and play Batman for a significant period of time. Like you have Robert Pattinson, who is basically 40 now, but in the Batman was in his mid-30s. But you could buy him as being like, I don't know how old that Batman is, like 22 or 23, right?
Yeah. It also depends on... So, did we actually confirm that? Because I know Damian and Dick are confirmed. Mm-hmm. Are the other Robins confirmed? Are Red Hood and Tim confirmed?
We don't have any, like, 100% confirmation for either of those characters. We do know that the Jason Todd and Dick Grayson live-action puppet CG animated mashup film, they're trying to make it work in the DCU, but we don't know if it's going to make the cut. They said they're trying to do it. If not, then it'll be Elseworlds. So we know Damian for sure. I don't even think we know if there's a Nightwing for sure.
So yeah, because it's one of those things where maybe you just truncate the Robin's ages a little bit and have like a mid-30s Batman. So he starts just as 18, maybe
he's got to do his training arc.
Yeah. And then 20. Yeah. And then again, do you want to start with Titans or do you want to start with Teen Titans? Because then again, this goes to the problem of how far in are we going to go? Because if we start with Nightwing, Dick Grayson as Nightwing, now we're missing that entire finding his own way, going to Bloodhaven, figuring out that city, making the Titans. Like we're missing out on all of that arc, which is pretty important stuff, because I feel like a lot of comic fans, even casuals, kind of always know the beginning and end of arcs, but like that really interesting stuff in the middle that builds the character, I think is missed a lot of the times, right? And I think him going to Bloodhaven and finding that and that becoming his city and then taking the mantle of Nightwing, especially with things like him getting the Nightwing name from Superman, right? I feel that's a really cool thing that builds the world out to show, yeah, all these characters influence each other's lives. I really would like to see him start as a Robin, even if it's only for like a movie or two.
Yeah, I mean,
but then,
I mean, I don't disagree with you. The only issue I think you run into when you start talking about things like that and building up the universe, let's say like a more MCU style way of a build up, right? Where you have the characters basically all starting at their origin points. Hulk, Iron Man. You had some other characters that were deeper into the universe. Obviously, Captain America had his movie, but he was frozen, so by the time of Avengers he was basically like a brand new hero, like Iron Man and like Hulk were. Thor had been around for a while, but obviously was going on his whole let's learn about humanity type deal. So all of those characters basically started at the same point and grew together. The issue with that is you can't really build up their side characters in a way that would match up with the comics anywhere close to one-to-one, especially when you take into consideration how long these movies take to get into production these days compared to like something like the Raimi trilogy, right? So if you have a Batman that's just starting out, by the time you get to all of this like Nightwing stuff, you're basically gonna like age out your actors before you really get into the meat of that, and you're gonna have like an old grandpa Batman where it's like, okay, we cast Robert Pattinson who's in like his mid to late 30s. By the time we get to the Batman 2, he's already 40. And if we expect like a similar timeline with the way that these movies come out nowadays, our Batman is going to be so old by the time his Robins get up there, he's going to be actually elderly. So I think if you fast forward the universe a little bit, you do miss out on some of that, but you make like the real world actors on the screen make a little bit more sense as they age. But if you're going like back to the early MCU style and you can pump out these movies semi-regularly, I feel like with Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, we got all of those movies pretty quickly. And if you were able to tell a Batman and Robin story throughout those movies, you would be very well served by the time you get here. But you also have to start at the beginning with all of those characters, instead of like skipping the middleman and being like, okay, we're already in an established universe where all these heroes exist and can operate, and we're like taking the training wheels off immediately and everything is just crazy. So I feel like there's a give and take as far as that goes, and you can't have it perfectly. I think the way to fix that is with ancillary stories, comic books, novels, animated series, video games. And they said they're going to do that, but we need like announcements, like a Teen Titans TV show would be awesome. Ooh. And it's like, okay, here's the Teen Titans show, and we're going to tell the story of how Robin left Batman, formed the Teen Titans, and they're going to have like their own series that is a prequel to like the live action stuff.
Especially if you can cast maybe younger versions of them, right? We do a House of the Dragons-esque thing where you have two actors playing the same characters.
Yep.
They try to keep that consistent. I think that's very cool. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, because that wasn't a thing I was actually taking into account, the real world actors. I think that is pretty important, especially if we're expecting 3 to 4 years between movies at that point. Then you can't slow roll and build that up. And it ends up being a little bit unfortunate because, I ranted about saying that DC is a victim of Batman. I also think the Bat families is also victims of Batman, where, listen, Garrick, you like Batman media.
Right.
Out of all the Batman media that's outside of the comics, which one of those really represents the Bat family super well?
I mean, there's not a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
They might show up occasionally, right? We had Nightwing in the Batman animated series.
Yeah.
We had them show up at the end of the Arkham series, which was in...
They're just used very sparingly. They're hardly ever the primary focus.
Yeah, the answer, and it's like
it usually ends with like Robin, right? It doesn't go much further than that most of the time.
Yeah, or like Nightwing will show up like in nights, right? And it's like, okay, this is cool. I understand the focus of those things, but it's a little bit hard because sometimes people will be like, oh yeah, Batman doesn't need the Bat family, and that's like Batman would be way less interesting without the Bat family, right?
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
you'd have certain things you can do, and I think even for that character, you're missing so much when you don't have those characters influencing him in certain ways or changing the way he behaves. Again, some of the most interesting stuff with Batman that I really like is how not well he dealt with Jason Todd's death. How
Right.
he just didn't deal with that well at all, and that's really cool. That's not a Batman the average fan has seen, kind of like a way more unhinged Batman who's lost it. That's really cool. But again, it's going to be really hard. I feel like at that point, I'm expecting maybe too much. But if we are planning, so let's say we have a mid-30s Batman, and then we have Batman go for a little bit, do you think they ever pass the mantle on and say, okay, this Batman is now 55. We have whatever event happens to kill him. Maybe we have like Nightwing and the Titans come over as the main team, because that's the MCU problem where they don't have anyone
Right.
after
There
the
was
main
no
Avengers.
transition. There was like,
No.
and there was no explanation in the universe. It was like, okay, we had Endgame, and then we're like, oh, okay, so the Avengers are like still a thing. They pull up at the end of Shang-Chi or whatever. We think they're like operating and functioning still as like a normal sort of unit. And then we get to like Captain America. They're like, oh, the Avengers have been disbanded. They even mention in like Multiverse of Madness that like, okay, the Avengers are still a thing. I can get you back on the lunchbox type deal. I want to avoid that situation at all costs. So I totally agree with you. How do we transition from point A to point B? I think that's something that they really need to consider. And I think that starting the universe where we're at is already sort of hedging your bets in that direction, because you're already going to have an established Nightwing, a potential character who can take up the mantle and maybe not become Batman. I know that's a very hot, contentious topic among Nightwing fans, but I think that's probably something that general audiences would expect. We have Batman's successor become Batman. So that's something that you would need to explain. But we're starting already at the beginning of the universe with like a mantle change between Green Lanterns. So it'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out and how they're able to take the universe from this initial endgame, phase of gods and monsters, where they have their plan that James Gunn has already said that they've planned out and they know what they're doing. How do we get from point A to point B without things feeling too disjointed? I think that is something that James Gunn really needs to focus on, and hopefully he's done that. Because right now we're talking about the ages of the Justice League. We're just talking about Batman. We don't even really know how old he's going to be. We haven't seen a cast yet. No. We would ideally like to see him around that 40-year-old, mid-30s age. If we get a Batman that's like 50 or 60, I will hate that. I will not like that at all. No. I'm fine with the character having history, but I think there's plenty of years, especially when we consider how Batman came up, and we've already talked about how young he is when he gets started and how long he's been Batman. You can have a decade down of Batman activities and be in your 30s still. So I think that's something that they need to consider. He's very LeBron-esque. Started early and stays for a long, long time. Batman in the comics is like, I don't know his exact age, but it's around that, right?
They're now saying he's around that 40-ish.
Right. So that's like that's a pocket to be in. When I think of Batman, that's like what I think of. Like prime Batman is like around that 40-year-old range. He's seasoned. He knows everything. He has seen it all, and he's at the top of his game. So that's what I think of. As far as the rest of the league, Hal is 60. His actor is, at least. Will he be like in his 50s? Probably. These actors usually play somebody about a decade younger than them. But the rest of the Justice League, Wonder Woman, she can be however old, it doesn't matter. Superman seemingly is like in his 30s. But that's all we really know. I mean, if Jon Stewart's going to be the main guy, then he's right in there with Superman around that same age. So we're getting some sort of consistency there. And I think that would be the best place for the Justice League to be. We don't want them to all be young because they've been around for a while, but I think like they've got a few years under the belt and they know what they're doing is best for everyone. And then we don't want them to be like elderly in 10 years. We want them to be like still active in 10 years. You know, it just depends on how many movies we can get, because 10 years in movie universe time is not that long. You know what I mean?
Especially modern movie stuff, right? Where, you know, it just takes a lot of time to make good things, right?
Which is weird because they used to pump out good stuff, bing, bang, boom, bam. Even like not even that long ago, Game of Thrones came out every year.
Now we got House of the Dragon every 7 years.
Yeah, and you know, the only show I can think of that is like people absolutely love that comes out every single year is The Bear. That comes out every year without fail, and it's refreshing. But you take a look at, like, I saw some stuff for the Wednesday show, which is what is that, The Addams Family? I never saw season 1, but like Jenna Ortega is in it, and I presumably she's playing like a high school girl in that. I don't know how old Jenna Ortega is now, but she's certainly way older than that. But she could play a high schooler. She looks young enough to do so. But you take a look at her younger brother in that, and he's like shorter than her in season 1, and they just released like a new image of the two of them, and he's like 6'6". So it's been like 5 years between season 1 and season 2, and it sucks. It makes no sense. I don't know what's going on with productions, and of course, like, I don't know how much like the strikes have affected all these things because they get put into production so long ago, but I feel like it's just a trend that production has taken longer and longer and longer and longer, and we don't get consistent stuff.
I just don't even understand it for movies because, for example, we heard when Peacemaker was started to be recorded, and that's going to come out roughly a year afterwards. It's the same with Superman, when we knew when they were started, and it's about a year and a bit after that comes out. So like, if the actual making of the show, when you've done the pre-production, you've made the suits, you've done everything, if that's only like a year, and then especially if you've made these suits already, you're not changing the suits every single movie, you're not like having to remake all the sets every single movie, you should be able to pump those out. I understand for some other mediums, right? Games take forever now. We only got two. We only got 2 Norse games because they were like, Cory Barlog was like, I didn't want to spend 2 decades of my life working on this, right? So we just do the 2 games instead of doing the 3, right? I just don't understand what's going on, especially with things that are popular and are getting views. So why is House of the Dragons 3 years Warner Brothers? Who knows? Who actually knows? But going back to the ages as well, I want them to have an age where it makes sense for them to chill out. That's the thing, because I'm not sure. So Superman is supposed to be about 30. If he's like in his early 30s, then yeah, he can chill out with a 40, like mid 30s, early 40s Batman, and it makes sense. If he wasn't in his early 20s, I feel like the dynamic would be different, right? It'd be very different. It wouldn't be like, this is my homie. It'd be like, this is my mentor, or like, this is like a different dynamic. And I feel like hopefully they cast someone around Cornsweat's age. How old is he actually? Do you know?
I don't know, but I have the internet at my fingertips and can look it up for you right now. David Cornsweat is 31.
Yeah, that's actually perfect, which means we have him for another 2 decades at the very least.
Yeah.
Give me a Batman that's around his age, IRL, and then you can do whatever you want. Age, say he's a little bit older. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of time where you can, in that 2 decades, make however many movies and crossovers you want to do. But it's just there's so much with anticipation. I feel like we're firing on every single bit of news. We're just jumping on, and because we want to, we're just so excited, because even the stuff that we've got before, Peacemaker, Suicide Squad, and Creature Commandos, yeah, all great stuff, right? But it all feels like it's kind of building to something, and it is this Superman. And is there too much pressure on this Superman movie to be more than it possibly could be?
I mean, that's a good question. I think the pressure is immense. I think it's insane. You see the chatter about it every single day. Anything that comes out about it, people are talking about it, dissecting every single word that James Gunn utters, every article that comes out with any type of interview. The universe is on Superman's shoulders. The weight is on Superman's shoulders, and as it should be. It's very, very in line with the way the comic books function. But yeah, I think it all comes down to, is Superman going to be a success or is it not going to be a success? And this is the proper launch of the DC universe. Obviously, there are other things in production that are going to come out, but the success of those, I think, ultimately hinge on how well Superman does. I think that everybody there recognizes that, and they're doing everything they can to put Superman in the best position to be as successful as it possibly can. We know that James Gunn has poured his heart and soul into this film. He knew previously, prior to doing Guardians 3, he wasn't ready to do it. Eventually found a story that he was passionate about. He wrote it, and he's super excited about it, and that makes me optimistic about the film. So I'm hoping that it's going to do well. But to answer your question, I think it is a little bit too much pressure. Yeah, I think that the pressure is real, and the expectations are so high that I don't know if the movie can hit them. Just being honest, I genuinely don't know if the movie can be as good as maybe it needs to be, which is like a crazy statement to make.
Especially with Gunn's record of extremely high quality.
Doesn't miss.
Right? And but that's the problem, isn't it? When you've done nothing but bangers, now I want you to do a banger, but with Superman. And I don't just want it to be a good movie by itself.
Right.
I also want it to set up this verse. Right? Man. Because there's a couple of ways this can go, right? Let's say Superman is like an absolute quality success where universally fans all love it, critics all love it, but it doesn't do particularly well at the box office. Do we start to worry at that point? Do we say maybe the superhero fatigue is kicking in? Because I don't believe it is, right? Invincible releases a season every 4 years, and still, is the most stuff on Amazon, right?
Right.
So if it's good, it's good. But like, what if we're in that situation where it's a good movie, but falls short in the box office?
Falls short in what way? Like catastrophically, or like doesn't make $1 billion? Like it makes a little bit over its money back, including marketing.
Let's say we're in that situation, makes a bit of its money back, including marketing, but it's not like a huge success.
Yeah, I think as long as in that scenario, the critics and the audiences that went to see it actually liked it, I think we're still in a pretty good position, and you're setting yourself up to do more. I think from that point, you're like, okay, we have a good solid base. The movie made money, maybe not as much as we would have liked, but we're set up in a way where now we can bring in the big dog, Batman, and Batman is going to make a lot of money. I can tell you that, even if it's not super great. So I think in that situation, they're not over the moon, but the universe is still safe to move on. Now, if it lost money, we might be cooked, even if it was like really, really good. If it just didn't, if it just bombed, maybe we have these things that are in production. Maybe they come out and then that's about it. And we just put out more Batman stuff, like more solo Batman stuff, which would be like the worst possible scenario for everybody, even Batman fans alike. So I hope it doesn't swing that way. Like I said, the pressure is crazy, but I think it can do it. I think it can really do it. The biggest hurdle is the competition in Fantastic Four and Jurassic World. Okay. I'm just saying, people love those dinosaur movies, and all of them make $1 billion, even the terrible ones, and they've been bad for like 3 movies. Like Jurassic World was fun. It was like a new, it was like The Force Awakens, where it was playing the greatest hits. It was the old band. They were back on tour, and then these past ones have just been worse and worse and worse, but they still rake in boatloads of money because people love dinosaurs. Fantastic Four, I think people are excited for that just because it is set like in a different universe. And then if Thunderbolts does well, which it looks like it's going to be really, really good, then that's just going to fuel the MCU fire within people and make them want to go see Fantastic Four even more. So we've got big competition, big pressure, and if it delivers, then we're rosy and we're sitting good and we're going to be eating good for many, many years in the DCU. But let's switch gears here a little bit. There was some news that came out today about Sergeant Rock, and the headlines everywhere were Sergeant Rock canceled. The movie is done. And those were the headlines that I was reading, and I didn't really dig into the articles. I was like, ah, man, that sucks. Yeah. And then somebody else was like, hey, hey, everyone, I read the article, which I guess should have been me. My fault, everybody. I was going to read it before the podcast, but like first reaction, I was like, damn, that's buns. But I was at work, so I was doing stuff. But anyway, I see somebody posted a screenshot of the article, and they're like, oh, it's not canceled, it's just being delayed. And there's like really good reasoning for it. So we have Colin Farrell, who is apparently going to be Sergeant Rock, Colin Farrell of the Penguin fame, as we've seen him in the Matt Reeves Batman universe recently. He's going to be playing Sergeant Rock. There were rumors about other people playing the character. None of them ever confirmed. I don't even know if these people were offered the roles. But Daniel Craig is not going to be Sergeant Rock, and neither is Jeremy Allen White. It's going to be Colin Farrell. And what is going on with the film is the director was looking he was looking for locations to film this month, but there were some scheduling issues, and they need the weather to be a certain type of way, and they wanted to start filming in August, but it's not going to end up happening, so they're delaying it until next year when they're going to have the correct correct weather that they want for this story to tell it, I guess, in the way that they want. So they want it to be set in the summertime. They want it to be set during a specific time period, and they need the weather to cooperate in this location that they are budgeted to film it. So it's just being paused. It's being paused for a year, and I'm going to be optimistic about it. I'm going to say that it's happening. I mean, they've got actors locked in. They've got the director who is scouting locations. They've got a script. Obviously, they have producers. Like, the thing is ready to go, and they were ready to shoot it in August. Unfortunately, it didn't line up, and that's what it's going to be. But everybody was saying it was canceled, which is crazy to me, because when you read the actual article, it doesn't say that at all.
Well, nobody reads any articles. Neither one of us
read
it,
me included.
I mean, it's just a perfectly reasonable. Oh, we just couldn't. It was a scheduling issue. We're delaying it. We were never promised an announcement date. They just said, yeah, we're making this movie. We didn't even really know the casting until this news came out. So there's not, like, what is there to be disappointed about? Did you think it was going to come out this year? Like, it's fine. I am happy that they are saying we don't want to just rush things.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do them as needed to give us the best quality possible. The only thing about it is, I do believe this news because they have come out and said explicitly certain things aren't moving forward, Swamp Thing and the Authority, right? So when they, want to cancel something or say something isn't moving forward, they've been very explicit with it.
Yeah.
I just don't want them to announce any. I really wish they wouldn't announce anything until either after they got a casting for it,
mm-hmm.
or until they started pre-production. So maybe you don't have a main character yet, but you've started the pre-production and you're working on that. Because at that point, it's like, okay, yeah, we started pre-production and here's this thing that we're working on.
Yeah.
To be a couple of years. Because I don't mind them. I'm sure they have a lot of different ideas that they want to do, trying to find scripts and so maybe some things will fall through. I don't need to hear every single one of James Gunn's ideas. Right? I really don't need it. I don't think anybody needs it. I think it gives the verse a bad taste, right? Because DC is known for cancellations,
mm-hmm.
whether we like to say it or not, from Batgirl to the Wonder Woman game to Swamp Thing season 2. Like, there's just a lot of to Gotham Knights, the TV show.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, yeah. right? So it's not a good look to have that carry on, right? I'd rather have no news than early news that then gets proven to not be true because of XYZ reason. But yeah, this is perfectly reasonable casting news. There's nothing to be worried about, in my opinion. Just we'll keep trucking, and I assume it'll come out when it needs to come out. Even though I still don't know how this is going to fit into anything. I assume maybe we're getting something with GI Robot.
Yeah, GI Robot I think is like the obvious connection, but the plot of the film is they were supposed to be tracking down the Spear of Destiny. That is what the film is supposed to be about. We don't really know much more than that, but on the point of like announcements and things like that, I 100% agree with you. We just got a bunch of announcements that we talked about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, where they announced like so many different things, and it was really overwhelming. It was a lot, and we had some thoughts at that time, but I think we sort of echo those today, which is we don't want to hear about it unless the thing is going to come out. Like, you please do not announce something unless it is like a surefire thing. And there could be like, okay, we want this thing to come out. No, I don't want to hear we want this thing to come out. Like you said, I want it to be in pre-production. I want a star. I want the whole cast attached to it before you're like, okay, we're making this thing. I want a script. I want a director. I want a cast. I want a fucking set. I want a location. That's what I want. Okay.
Yeah. Announce it on the first day you're filming. Yes. Yeah. Give us an announcement on set.
Hey guys,
the first day. Like, hey,
we're filming on this thing. Yeah. So if I didn't hear about Sergeant Rock until next August, when they're on set filming, they're like, oh, by the way, we're filming Sergeant Rock starring Colin Farrell. But let's talk about Colin Farrell for a little bit. I think it's a good time to jump into this. Will he ever play the Penguin again? I mean, there was news-ish that came out recently, and I don't want to dig too deep into anything that could be conjecture or personal things.
Yeah.
There were feelings out there that the Batman 2 was more likely to be canceled than to be folded into the DCU proper. That was the feeling from various insiders. Again, I don't want to go into the details as to why that might be happening, but there obviously have been significant delays on the Batman Part 2. We got the first movie, we got the Penguin series. I would consider both of those top-tier superhero cinema, something that you should invest your time in, even if we don't get a second one. But with Colin Farrell being Sergeant Rock and Colin Farrell locking in a whole bunch of other roles to do, not to mention Robert Pattinson is going to be in the next Dune film. He's already committed himself to that. We have all the actors just, they can't just wait around for the Batman forever. They have to work. So the longer it takes for a script to be finalized, for the movie to be like officially put into production, the more delays that are going to happen just naturally because the actors are going to be busy. So even if Matt Reeves turns in a script tomorrow and they're ready to film this thing 6 months from now, the whole cast might be busy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
these are big stars. It's not.
Yeah.
New people that are coming up that are tied to this explicitly, right? They have way too many other things to do.
Yeah, so it's just really a crappy situation all in all on the Batman, but did want to just throw that out there for everybody. I know the Batman is not part of the DCU. Do we think it will be part of the DCU? I think at this point, no chance. But we were talking about it in offline, where I love Robert Pattinson as Batman. I love Matt Reeves' take on Batman. But all that aside, Robert Pattinson specifically, I think right now is such a hot commodity, has reestablished himself as a big time star, as a fantastic actor, and just seemingly, I don't know him, but seemingly a great guy to hold the mantle of Batman moving forward for like 10 years maybe. So I think even if the Batman 2 doesn't happen, to lose someone like Robert Pattinson, who's in that role, to lose Colin Farrell as the Penguin, who I would say is like at this point already the definitive live action Penguin, to lose Zoe Kravitz as a Catwoman, to lose Paul Dano as the Riddler, we're missing out on some of the best casting decisions ever made for superhero cinema, and it would hurt my heart if that is the last time we see Robert Pattinson as Batman, whether it was the Batman 2 or not. I'm talking Robert Pattinson specifically. Missing him as Batman would be such a huge blow for Batman fans, DC fans, and superhero fans in general, I think.
Yes. Now I'm gonna say something. When I first heard the Batman 2 was cancelled, when that news, it did put a smile on my face. I was like, man, now Batman fans can feel a fraction of the pain that I feel, But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, man, yeah, I'm really actually happy. No, I'm joking, but no.
Come on, dog.
No, it is unfortunate to have. It would be like, man, imagine, you watch the first season of Game of Thrones and they just didn't do any more. It's just
right.
It's just such a big missed opportunity. I feel like they should have struck while the fire was hot. I understand you wanted to do the Penguin show, but I wouldn't have minded if that took place after the trilogy. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy, but that's kind of what people do, trilogies. Like, that should have been. I'm not sure what stopped it from going through straight away. Maybe there wasn't a script. Maybe people weren't free. But even then, do you not want to add something like the Batman to your legacy? I guess you already have the one film, we kind of leave it as a standalone, but it would be a massive missed opportunity to have such an interesting take on the character, like this kind of way more low tech, very young Bruce, who's a lot more connected to the city than the other live action versions, and just have that not go anywhere, right? It would be. It's kind of, it sometimes feels like Andrew Garfield not getting the third Spider-Man movie, where maybe those movies weren't particularly great, but I feel like
the actor is somebody that people really connected to and was like a great choice.
Yes, it was just an unfortunate set of circumstances. Definitely deserved a third movie. Maybe it's too late.
But now we're in a situation where it's like the actor is great. And I think Robert Pattinson, he's a contemporary of Andrew Garfield. I think they're like similar. Like, if you were to rank them on like tiers of like not only how good they are, but like how well they can be as a star, a supporting actor, a supplementary role. I think they can do it all. They're really like chameleons. It's a similar situation in that regard. But it's completely different because the Amazing Spider-Man movies suck and the Batman is peak. So it's like you're missing out on Andrew Garfield, but also you don't have to endure these shit movies anymore. Here we're missing out on Robert Pattinson and we're missing out on peak Batman, bro.
Yeah, so it's just
the worst
hard. Of all situations.
I mean, if I were to have it my way, I will just be 100% honest with the people out there. Maybe this isn't the best take. Maybe this isn't the take everyone likes, but I'm controversial here on the DCU Experience. And honestly, if for some reason we were not able to continue on the production of the Batman 2, I'd be perfectly fine with changing direction entirely and just saying, all right, Robert Pattinson's going to be our Batman. The Batman 1 and the Penguin are canon. And we're just going to try something else. I mean, it's a hot take. I know you don't like to hear it, but I think that the universe and the Gotham and the actors, everything is too good to just not do anymore. I understand. No. I understand completely. Trust me when I say this. I understand completely the idea that this is Matt Reeves baby. This is his universe that he thought of. He wrote it. He produced it. It's his. He made it into existence, and he made something beautiful. I just don't want to miss out on any more of those characters. Will they be Matt Reeves' perfect version that we would have gotten in the Batman Part 2 and 3? No. Would they have to be reworked to be used in the DC universe? Yes. I'm admitting that it would not be the Batman Part 2. It would be somebody else's thing. But to miss out on all of that amazing world building that we've just done, a movie that people love, a cast that people love, to just throw all of that away and have none of it continue, I would personally really, really be saddened by that. And I understand, again, everybody out there, I'd much prefer the Batman Part 2 and the Batman Part 3 and it not be part of the DCU. But if we're gonna lose it all, I'm just saying, hot take, I'd fold it in.
You don't want that. I'm gonna say this. You don't want it. Because the moment it happens, when it gets announced, you're like, man, this is so hype. And then it gets folded into everything. And now we go back to the classic DC. More than anything else I've ever seen. The continuity / having to jigsaw puzzle different things in, and we're back in the exact same, New 52, Rebirth, the DCEU / DCU. Like,
I mean, maybe you're right in the long run. Maybe you're right in the long run. It's
like,
maybe it would screw too many things up. I just think it would be such a catastrophic, cataclysmic loss to not have Robert Pattinson, Colin Farrell, and Zoe Kravitz continue in these roles. It would just really suck. Obviously, you'd have to pivot. Obviously, you'd have to... But then that gives you the opportunity to just be like, okay, we're going to do the Teen Titans from, like, the beginning. We're going to do Robin from the beginning. But I get it. I get it, everyone. I get it. I am just in my feelings right now over the fact that Robert Pattinson might not be Batman anymore. And that just sucks for me.
Yeah. And then, well... It'll suck for you until they cast somebody. You're like, man, who is this Robert Pattinson guy? We've got this new Batman. I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. I don't think I've ever done that before.
I mean,
people love to do that though. They love to jump ship. But to be fair, I've never had a Batman. I've never had a Batman that I was like truly in love with in live action. I mean, Robert Pattinson is the one, bro. He's like the best one. His Bruce Wayne is really different, but I think we were going to see the character evolve and change a lot. Christian Bale was certainly not that for me, even though I love those movies and I would really never disparage them in any serious way because I think those movies are super important. I would not be who I am today, and you can see the Dark Knight posters behind me. I love that trilogy. But Christian Bale was never that Batman for me. Ben Affleck was never that Batman for me. Michael Keaton, George Clooney, Val Kilmer, none of these guys were that Batman to me. So when we get so close with somebody that I think can really be that guy, and to lose it after one movie is it's just devastating for me. It's like the Wonder Woman game being canceled for you. It's terrible.
Rather it not be announced at all, right? It's one of those situations, and it's I mean, I agree with you. There's no Batman live action that's fit everything that I think the character should fit. Right, certain people have had really good aspects. I don't particularly think Bale's Batman was like the best. I like his Bruce, but I don't think his Batman was the best. Like, he didn't really have the physicality that and that's like an aspect that you can't ignore, right? You might want to. I don't think you can ignore it, right? It's just that's his entire early, career is him training and doing all of that stuff. But yeah, it is when you get your unicorn casting, but things that aren't the script or the character or the actor's actual acting messing it up feels like a massive waste.
Yeah.
Just because when will we get this again?
Yeah,
Like, are we
exactly.
gonna get lucky and get another Batman in the DCU that's as good? Like, who are we thinking that could even be as good as him?
I genuinely don't. I genuinely don't know, and a lot of it comes down to the writing. I'll concede that, but the actor also matters a lot. The way he carries himself in the suit, and I think there were just so many small things that Robert Pattinson did so well in the Batman cape and cowl that it was just different, bro. The way he moved in it, the way he was. The way he commanded the presence, his presence commanded attention in the room when he was visible. The way he could hide in the shadows if he needed to. It was just the body language of Robert Pattinson in that suit was just like so pitch perfect Batman. Could the Bruce Wayne be more accurate to the comics and different? And yes, but I think it was a unique take on Bruce Wayne, and I think it really worked for that version of the character. And could we have gotten that more suave Bruce Wayne? Maybe he could have seen, this is another way for me to do things. Yes, I think that was kind of what we were working towards. Like Alfred was saying that to him in the movie. So I think that was something we were working towards. It's just there were so many small things that the actor brought to the character that I've never seen before and will be hard to replicate. And when the casting was announced, everybody lost their minds. I don't know if you remember when Ben Affleck was cast. That was a long, long time ago. But when Ben Affleck was cast, everybody hated it. It was cataclysmic. When Robert Pattinson was cast, it was even more so. The guy from Twilight, the scrawny little twink, the sparkly vampire. And I was like, you guys don't know. I was on the hype train immediately. I was like, you guys got to watch Robert Pattinson movies. You got to go back. You got to dig into Bellamy. You got to watch Good Time. You got to get into the Robert Pattinson filmography and watch it. And I was super passionate about it. I helped Nick write a script for it. I was giving him like movie recommendations. I was like, watch this, watch this, watch this. And we made a video about how this was going to be the guy. That's how excited I was for the potential. And it fucking delivered, dude. And now to lose it, I'm crashing out a little bit, and I'm saying crazy things. I'm saying crazy things like, just bring him in the DCU. I understand it's a crazy thing, but it's a thing coming from a perspective of a guy who really loves that version of Batman and just is holding on to hope that maybe he'll stick around.
Yeah. You know, bring him into the DCU and the monkey paw, curls. Right?
Yes, exactly. And then it's like, why are they doing this? This is not working at all.
It sucks. Has nothing to do. Yeah, it's funny because when you were talking about it, his Bruce also reminds me a lot of Absolute Batman's Bruce. I'm not sure how much you read on that, but like the way that they go about and like hold themselves are pretty similar as Bruce Wayne, but. Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. I just hope. I don't know. I mean, Colin Farrell is kind of staying in that Warner Brothers DC lane, so maybe they can sneak him onto another. Hey, come on, do Penguin season 2 for us, and then maybe that can motivate. You do that, maybe that gives you more ideas for what to do for the Batman. The Batman 2, right? It's just,
and again, we don't know what's going on with Matt Reeves, and we don't want to speculate on it at all. All we know is he hasn't delivered a script, and there are things going on that in his personal life that are preventing that. That's all we know.
That is not for us to say, unlike other certain
other certain YouTubers with blonde hair. But yeah, it's a really shitty situation overall. I'm just like, it's like the stages of grief. I'm in the denial phase and the bargaining. Maybe I'm in bargaining. I think I'm past denial at this point. I'm in bargaining. Like, what can I do to keep him? That is where I'm at. So, yeah, I love that version of Batman. Would love it to continue. But if it doesn't, I am glad that it happened. Type beat. I can always go back and revisit the Batman if I want to. I'll shed a single tear at the end when I know it's not going to continue after the amazing Batman monologue, and just seeing how Matt Reeves was able to really embody that character, or imbue that character with the hope, because people fundamentally misunderstand Batman so much, and it's really annoying, especially general audiences. So yeah, it sucks. I don't even know why we got started on that tangent, but we talked a lot about Batman on today's episode. That was not necessarily what we were supposed to talk about, but I think it all ties back with the ages of the Justice League and how we would like them to proceed in the universe, being in that mid-30s to like early 40s range. I think if everybody's around there, we're happy, fun, good times. But taking a look at the Lanterns, it's the Green Lantern show, it's looking like a little bit of a retirement home, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Sinestro's old as hell. Atrocitus potentially getting up there. Hal, old and dusty. John,
the old guy.
My goat, John, is looking good. But you know, I'm a animated Justice League truther, so that's why I'm all John all day, because that's just the first Green Lantern I knew. I knew John Stewart before I knew Hal Jordan. Obviously, before I knew Alan Scott. Grew to love them all, but unfortunate for us, they're all elderly in the DCU, and I'm really interested to see what is going on with that. They're literally 60 years old. They're not gonna be around for a Justice League movie in 10 years.
No, they are 100%. Something's happening to them. They are definitely dying. I'm gonna call. I'm guessing Sinestro and Hal die. I feel like Hal's gonna be the first character to die in the first character. I mean, first character to die in the DCU. 100% is gonna be Hal, right?
I feel like it'd be Other than Nina Mazursky. Spoiler alert.
You're really spoiling people, huh? But yeah, no, is it too easy? Maybe that's obvious. Maybe they're like, yeah, look at these guys. They think that, you know, it's gonna Hal's gonna die. But maybe
Sinestro's even older than him.
Yeah.
Man, to put it into perspective a little bit for you, I know you're a Hal Jordan truther.
Mm-hmm.
To put it in perspective for the people listening, Robert Downey Jr. is 60 right now. 20 years ago, 17 years ago, Iron Man came out, the first Iron Man. That's crazy to say. That shit was 17 years ago. But when did it go into production? Probably a year before that. He's probably cast a little. So he was probably like 40-ish, 41, 42 when he was cast as Iron Man. Again, perfect age for a character like that. And even an Iron Man that's starting right from the beginning. And you have to remember that early Iron Man 1, he was not like, he was playing like a 30-year-old. He was a young hot shot. He was coming in, he was taking over Stark, and he was going to kick out Obadiah Stane, right? He was obviously younger than like 40. He was very much meant to be like in his 30s. And that's something you can definitely do with these actors. I mean, they all have the youthful, and I mean 40 is not even old, right?
Yeah.
To be completely I'm older than you are, for everybody in the audience. I'm 33. The other day, I was talking to some people. We were drinking some mimosas at brunch, and they're like, "Garrick, are you even old enough to drink this?" I'm like, pretty sure I'm older than everyone here, and I was. So when you're young or when you're beautiful like me and most people in Hollywood,
mm-hmm.
I could play an 18-year-old tomorrow on the CW, no problem.
Yeah, 100%.
So you could get a 40-year-old. Exactly. You could play a 40-year-old to play a 30-year-old very easily. But we've got some geriatric dudes. Like I said,
60.
Hal Jordan is 60 today. Robert Downey Jr. is 60 today. He was Iron Man 20 years ago. He's old now. Did you see him in Oppenheimer? He's old, dude. Did you see pictures of him at Comic-Con where he was Doom, he's old. 60 is
bad.
old. 40, I would say 40, 50, you're chilling. Once you get to 60, I think that's like the first. Yeah. Once you hit 60, then it's like, all right, you're old. But 40
now you
and
can
50,
the old characters.
Yes, exactly. You don't even need the wrinkles. You're old. You have the wrinkles.
No need to make it. It's.
So again, as a Hal Jordan truther,
tell
us how you feel.
The thing about it is, I don't mind it as long as we're able to give Hal that like the grandiosity and like the respect. Having that mantle be passed on to John straight away, I don't mind it. Right? John has been with the League for long enough. He was there for the Snyder run. He was there for what most people know for the cartoon. Fine. I'll take that. The one thing more than Hal is Sinestro.
Yeah.
Sinestro for me is like my top 5 favorite villains, period. I absolutely love Sinestro. And I just want him to be around, kind of being a menace for a long time. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want him to be like Loki, where he doesn't really die. He just shows up, causes some havoc, and then pieces out again. I like that for him. And it's unfortunate because it seems like he'll probably have like one last hurrah, right? And he's already the Yellow Lantern. We don't get and the narrative of him being one of the coolest aspects of Sinestro was the fact that before Hal showed up, and even after Hal showed up, it took a Hal for a while, Sinestro was the single greatest Lantern there was, like the Green Lantern there was. And it was like, this is such a cool idea for him to be the greatest of their order, train up Hal.
And we got that. We kind of got that with the Ryan Reynolds movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair,
we got something, I guess.
Wait. To be completely fair, to the Ryan Reynolds film, which has been, I think, unfairly maligned for years. Like, Ryan Reynolds, I'm talking to you. I know you're listening. Let it go. The movie was not that bad where you still need to be crying about it today and making jokes about it today. It was genuinely not that bad. It was bad. Wasn't that bad. Okay? Chill. Sinestro in that movie was peak. Mark Strong, absolute amazing. He was that Green Lantern in that movie, right? They gave him the respect. He was that dude. So we got to understand him as a Green Lantern first before, obviously, at the end of the movie, he got the Yellow Lantern ring. That was the best and most redeeming quality of the film, was Mark Strong as Sinestro, but not to interrupt you, I'll hand it right back. I totally agree with you. Ulrich Thompson, I believe, is the name of the actor. He is 61, and Kyle Chandler is 59. So they're both 60.
It's the look of it is maybe they can stick around for a little bit longer because, again, they probably aren't going to do a single action scene, right? The Sinestro fights are going to be him.
They're probably not going to do karate.
Yeah, we don't need that. So, and you're probably going to have a lot of heavy makeup, so you can have a body double if they do need to do anything. But if he's like a great casting, maybe he can stay around for a little bit longer. But it's just... Because if you're getting rid of Atrocitus and Sinestro, you're getting rid of a lot of Green Lantern villains that could have been around. Because we talked about this very early on, where we wanted a large roster of villains, unlike the MCU, where everybody's one off in the MCU. Outside of Loki and Ronan, those are the only 2 villains that I know that were like continuous throughout the verse.
Well, Ronan was killed in the first movie he was in.
Was he not in more than one movie?
He was in Captain Marvel, but that was a prequel.
Oh, yeah. so it was just Loki, my bad.
And Thanos.
As like the overarching villain kind of, yeah. But like, I want that to be impactful because imagine building, we talked about it. The Legion would be so cool to have, right?
Yeah.
I don't want I don't want Cersei to show up in the first Wonder Woman and die. That would be awful. That would be so bad. Put her in jail and then have Lex break out of jail, please. Like, because Lex is obviously not dying in this movie, right?
Right. Hot take. Hot take. Marvel, I think maybe you can make a case. maybe you can make a case that Marvel heroes can somewhat contend with the DC heroes in terms of like just being good characters, being good iconic heroes, somewhat contend. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, obviously crazy big three, crazy aura, very well established, well loved, big time. Justice League, all that. But I mean, Marvel has the Hulk, huge, Wolverine, huge, the rest of the X-Men, also huge, Spider-Man, and now established the Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. They're up there. They're big time.
Yeah.
But somewhere DC has always had them beat, in my opinion, is villains. Bar none, DC has the best villains in comics. And I think it's like consistently across all their heroes, consistently better villains than anything you can point at Marvel. You can say like maybe the X-Men villains. So that's like a team. Their villains. The X-Men villains, yeah.
And Doom. Doom is the one that I'm like, okay.
Doom obviously is up there, and then like Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, and then there are exceptions. So you have Thanos, you have the one-offs, yada yada yada. But like Batman's Rogues Gallery, I think you walk up to the average person on the street, they can probably name 10 of them.
Yeah.
DC has always just had the edge in villains, and
I would agree so.
Like you said, I think it would just be big mistake to use these villains as one and done sort of things. I think Green Lantern is a character where maybe this is another hot take. You're a little more thin on the villains, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Sinestro is like the one. He's the one. The rest are... Sinestro's the guy.
I'm thinking, like, Sinestro really was the villain for like 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
And it's because he you know, there's that relationship with them, so it's just really nice, and it's not contrived like the Spider-Man villains, right? So, he can stick around, but then you have a couple of bigger things that you can build up to. The one that we always will bring up to because everybody wants it is Blackest Night with Necron, right? You can definitely build up Atrocitus, and for side characters, it is easiest to do that with.
I mean, you have Star Sapphire too.
Saint Walker, the GOAT, but
I mean, I love Saint Walker. Would you consider Saint Walker a villain?
No, I'm just talking about. I guess Star Sapphire would be a very interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can point out instances where like maybe we're combative with somebody like Saint Walker, but I thought you were saying he was a villain. I was like, what?
Oh no, sorry, my bad. Yeah, no, it's just Sinestro, Atrocitus, Necron, and Star Sapphire.
Yeah, and I agree with you in the sense that those characters can be built up to be interesting threats, especially someone like Atrocitus who can just really pin down the average meathead, monkey-brained guy out there that's like, oh, big, strong, red monster, man. I like that. He hits hard. Me. Yes, exactly. We all have that. We all have that little caveman in the back of our brain that just goes punch, 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 punch. And for us power scalers, maybe he has a front row seat more than most people. But those are characters you have to build up and explain to people. Whereas like, not to keep bringing it back to Batman, but you can literally put any of them up on the screen and they know who they are. They know what they're about. Like the Riddler tells riddles. He's going to make Batman solve them. Bane is big and strong. He's going to fight Batman. Scarecrow is scary, right? They're very easy to figure out. Everyone knows who they are. And shout out to the Adam West Batman show, which did a ton of the heavy lifting for all the boomers out there. Because my mom could probably name every Batman villain because of that show. But yeah, Green Lantern villains need built up a little bit more. And if Sinestro's like the guy and he's 60 years old, is he going to be around? You can make him like a CGI. I just don't know. I'm just worried about the age. We'll need to see how it happens. And if we're doing a true passing of the torch, then you have even more work to do when you're talking about Jon Stewart having villains to take on and tackle. Because if he doesn't have Sinestro, then we got to get into other stuff.
I just thought about this. If we're going to do the next generation, Sinestro has a daughter. She did end up joining the Green Lantern. What is his daughter's name? I forgot. If Nick was here, he would be telling me. But if we're going to do, why not Hal and Sinestro die and then have John and Sinestro's daughter be that Saronic, there was, right? Be that dynamic of the yellows and the greens, right? I mean, if you want to pass the torch on both ways, I feel like that would be an interesting
that'd be cool
thing, if you, because they obviously can't,
they can't go on too long because they won't forget about Saint Walker. We're talking about a regular walker that they're going to need in the old folks home. Like they'll make that out of a construct, fighting like it'll be like Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy out there, up and away type shit. I mean, I don't know if you're super into SpongeBob being from across the pond, but yeah.
We had SpongeBob over here. We watched Nickelodeon too.
Let's go. Yes. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy comes to mind. So basically what we're saying is, please don't make any of the other Justice League that old. Unless you're really going to move quickly and transition the new blood. If we're going like Barry into Wally. But even then you have like Speed Force stuff to consider. But I would love for Wally West to be the main Flash. I think that...
We've not talked about Flash at all, huh?
We haven't. I mean, we've maybe seen the Flash in that Cersei vision, and people are saying it was like Kid Flash. But I've been a Wally West guy, and you want to know why? Because I grew up on the damn Justice League cartoon that Jon Stewart was in, like I just said. Like, Wally is my dude. He's got, the Flash has red hair, and like those are the comics that I read when I first started reading Flash was Wally comics, and then the New 52. I was reading the New 52 as it was coming out, and that was like really the first time I dove into comics. I had read comics before that, but they were mostly like graphic novels and like the highlights, and it was like 99% Batman and some Spider-Man. But when the New 52 came out, I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to get into comics. So I started reading The Flash. I read every number 1, and then I was like, so I need comics. I didn't want to wait for more. I started reading Wally West stuff. So like Wally West was not just my Flash from like my childhood, but literally the first runs that I read were Wally West. So that's my guy. Yeah. If we want to transition into passing the mantle, and maybe that's what we're setting up. We talked about Nightwing earlier. Maybe that's just the way to go with it. But most of the villains that the new gen has are the previous gen's villains for the most part.
Yeah, those guys don't die, I guess. It is still Thawne and still Zolomon.
Yeah, I mean, you have Professor Zoom.
The Black Flash, a couple of these.
But that seems to be the case. I mean, even Nightwing, like, doesn't have a villain.
Crisis would be real mad at you for saying that.
He would, but I'm sorry, I have to tell the truth.
No, the answer is he does have a villain, and it is Deathstroke. Like, listen, Crisis,
sure,
I know you're listening.
I mean, that's a Teen Titans villain, but no, I would agree. If we were to say who's Nightwing's arch nemesis, it's probably Deathstroke. Again, Crisis will be upset for us for speaking the truth, but it is the truth. And I'm talking from the sense of, like, when you think of a hero, you can think of a villain off the top of your head like this easily. You think of Green Lantern, Sinestro. You think of the Flash as Reverse Flash, Batman, Joker, Superman, Lex Luthor. You can literally do this with every hero. They have an iconic villain. They have an arch nemesis. It's probably Deathstroke. You're probably right.
It is Deathstroke.
Even though I would push back a little bit on that. You're probably right. I would say it's. I would just say he's a Teen Titans villain. I would say he's a Titans adversary. Nightwing just doesn't.
Trigon
he doesn't have a villain. He doesn't have a villain.
Yeah. A lot of the other characters, it is mostly like the big, because that's the big thing with DC. It's the families. It's usually the family heads have the villains, and then it's all trickled down to other people, right? The Supergirl show was something. Every single season was just, whatever, man. How we?
I don't know. Supergirl has the Supergirl tangent.
Listen, man, I'm sorry. It's just one quick thing.
Because she used all of Superman's villains.
Yeah. They had a Supergirl show. I was like, man, I can't wait for all the Supergirl stories. I like Supergirls.
Right.
Actually, the Supergirl story was the first ever comic I read.
Shout out
it was
to
that
Carl.
and The Killing Joke. Yeah. So I've always liked Supergirl.
Baby's first comic, The Killing Joke.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom got me that and like D Gray Man.
Yo, shout out to Mama True.
But yeah. That's a show about Supergirl, and every single storyline was just a Superman storyline. I'm like, man, why not just make a Superman show? Why not just do the Supergirl stories? It was actually so uber cringe. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the CW had a problem with that. We talked about last week, Arrow and just being a Batman show with the hood and green colors. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a trend. The Flash show did Flash villains. I mean, they had an OC villain for a while that just ended up being Reverse Flash, but
those first 2 seasons, let's not say anything.
Peak.
Actually, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I'll give you season 3. The Savitar mystery was really cool. It was kind of dumb for it being him, but you know, Savitar's suit was cool. Him beating up Flash was cool. But you know, after that, who did we have after that? Was it Cicada?
It was that guy. I remember because he's in Band of Brothers. Because I brought that up a couple weeks ago. I was watching it. He has like Flash season 4 villain. It's not it is the Thinker, but it was someone else.
The Thinker and somebody else.
Yes,
right?
the early villain was. Was his name
Hey, sure,
Declan?
Was it Cicada? Who's Declan? It's not a villain.
Wait. I'm trying to think of the like actual character's name. All right, hold on. We're gonna look this up. We have the internet. All right. It was Neil McDonough.
Mm-hmm.
Who did he play in The Flash? I'm gonna find this out right now. Wait, no. He wasn't he an Arrow villain? Maybe I'm lying.
Who are you talking? Wait, what's
he was name? No. Declan. Damien Dark.
Oh, Damien Dark. Was
he in the Arrow season 4?
He was in Arrow, and then he was mostly in Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. For some reason I thought he was in Flash. My bad.
No, because he showed up in the crossovers.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Damien Dark, one of the best villains in CW, and also the only CW show to never miss was Legends of Tomorrow. I don't know what they were doing with that show.
Yeah, that Obama episode was great.
Yeah. Get down, Obama.
You just liked it because it was so Doctor Who pilled.
Yes. It was definitely a little bit of that, like,
it was Doctor Who
cheesy
with
stuff.
Superheroes.
Yeah, it felt like a little bit of Gun, but just not quite to that same level. And I don't know, I love it. Yeah, but like, man, the final season with the guy from Breaking Bad, as you can tell, there were no strings on me.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking perfect way to end the season to kill. Oh,
yeah.
So anyway,
Issa's in the chat correcting me.
Yeah. But that's Superman. Oh yeah, Superman and Lois. But yeah,
I mean, Issa, you can agree with us on the Nightwing thing and just back us up and defend us when you're in.
Well, wait, hold on, wait. What's us? I
you
did not
agreed.
Wait. No. For all those listening, that was all Garrick. I didn't say anything whatsoever. I wasn't even here most of this podcast.
He's throwing me under the bus. I'm gonna be hit with an Eskrima stick when I see Crisis when he comes up to see Superman with us.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm booking my flights. I'll be there.
Are you actually? Don't lie to me.
No, I'm not booking a flight to in this economy.
Yeah, you've got the money. I mean, I don't know what your financial situation is, but you've had a stable job for quite a while. You can afford it.
Yeah.
How much could a flight be?
America?
Have you looked into it?
Right, let me see right now.
Yeah, look it up right now.
What state y'all in? Well, actually, I guess it'd be. Let me go here.
Well, you'd fly into Washington, D.C.
Okay, Washington. Let's see. From my local airport.
Your local airport just down the street. Let us know.
Actually, I could walk there. But, so.
That's great.
Oh, wait. It's actually really not that much.
How much?
It's like $350.
That's nothing!
that's actually... Hold on, maybe...
Drew's coming
I'll think
down.
about it.
Listen,
I do have some.
I'll throw
what day is it?
I'll throw in $50. Nick will throw in $50, and you can stay with me. And I think Crisis is staying with me anyway, so we can all three have a sleepover. Let's go.
We could do a live podcast with all of us in the room.
We could. I have it right here. I could set the whole thing up. It would be beautiful. It would be amazing. $350, True, is nothing, and you have and you have somewhere to stay for free.
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
That's 2 months from now.
Yeah. Let me take a look at it.
Yeah, that's what we like to see. See, we're making things happen.
Oh man.
Lowrel Legend Tony is in the chat. Tony, if True flies to the United States, you have to come up here and hang as well. You got to come up and watch Superman as well. Yep. We have to make that happen. So it turns out it's not that much. True is coming to the U.S., baby. America. As long as they don't detain you and deport you, you'll be fine, or deport you to El Salvador or something. You'll be fine.
Yeah, that would be.
They're not gonna put you in a gang prison. You're chill. I'll vouch for you. I'm cool with the White House like that.
I mean, I've got a British passport. It should be okay.
Yeah, it should be fine. Should be fine. I actually don't know anyone in the White House. See, Tony said he's coming up. If you fly in, that's. It sounds like things are happening here, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
All right, we've been going super long, but it's just me and True, and we do this all the time. But I want to let you. Let you get to sleep. But yeah.
2 o'clock.
It's 2 a.m. for the guys, so let's let him get to bed. He had the arms out today. He had the guns out. Sun's out, guns out. True's been hitting the gym. Boulder shoulders over here. Looking good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been working hard. I have not. It's mostly just leg day for me, because of my torn meniscus. But yeah, I think another great. Oh, sorry, Riddler. I just elbowed him in the head. I think another great episode, and we made it happen. Off the dome, off the cuff. True and Garrick back at it again. Not that we haven't done this in VC a million times, so it seemed pretty easy, but.
Chilling.
Yeah. Sergeant Rock is still happening. Green Arrow is not in the Lanterns TV show. The Batman may be happening, and we want Robert Pattinson to stay. I do. But I think I'm in a little bit of a denial. Nightwing has no villains, and True is coming to the United States. Those are the developments this week in the DCU. I think we made a lot of progress. We didn't have those other 2 guys slowing us down. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Love you, Crisis. Love you, Nick. But yeah, hopefully they'll be back next week. We'll have some more news to talk about. And if we don't, we'll be here and we'll yap anyway. I'm going to make it happen. If nobody else shows up, I'll be here alone.
I'm always there.
See, True's got my back. His sword traps the souls of his victims. So we will be back next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the DCU Experience for True, Crisis, who's not here, Nick, who's not here, and me, Garrick. Thank you for joining us. We will see you in the next one. Peace.
I'll see you guys. Peace.